We're live. There we go. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties here as usual, but I think we're all here now. Can you guys hear us okay? See us okay? That type of thing. Anybody out there hear us? See us? What's that song? Tommy? Is it The Who?
Tommy, can you hear me?
Yeah. I think we're live, so we'll just start talking. I actually um just kind of came up with this idea not too long ago. Hey, what's up, Quicksilver? Can you hear us okay, Quicksilver? Quicksilver is a moderator on our Discord channel. Um, and if anybody hasn't joined the Discord, you definitely should. There's a really good community there of some really great techs that are just waiting to help people. Okay, cool. Thank you, Steven. Appreciate it. Um, so yeah, anyway, I had an extra hour this afternoon. I was sitting there talking to Eric and I was like, let's do a live stream. What should we do it on? I don't know. Eric didn't have any better ideas either. um, so, I thought, why don't we talk about? I'm curious what everybody's thoughts are on new versus vintage versus hybrid. Are you only buying vintage? Are you only buying new, or do you have a mix? I thought that might be something interesting we could talk about. We got people from Texas, people from
Ohio.
Ohio. Steven's been a regular for a long time. Steven, are you from Iowa? I can't remember. We got some people from England. Hey, thank you for letting us know you can hear us. Arizona checking in, France checking in. Mix. Is one of us too loud or something like that?
Yeah. And I don't know if Kevin's right behind me, as you can see right
Hey.
here. I don't know if his mic is.
I turned it down a little bit, but I don't think there's much. I don't think there's much control inside of this app. Eric, you got a buffer sitting right next to you. You planning on buffing anything?
Maybe.
That's the buffer for turntable dust covers. We use it to polish dust covers. Let's see. So what do we got? I have a Wiim streamer, or Wiim, however you pronounce it, hooked up to an old Yamaha receiver. Yeah, and I definitely think, when it comes to CD players and streamers, obviously it's pretty tough to go vintage. Even the 80s CD players just seem to be so problematic, and I don't know, the DACs usually aren't that great. They came out with a lot of technology that, just improved them so much. But I do semi-hybrid speakers from the 80s, preamp 70s. I tend to think speakers improved a lot. But yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. I definitely think they've made leaps and bounds with all technology. It's hard, nothing really sits stagnant. But yeah, I almost think some of the amps and preamps, in a way, because they're so full of IC chips and all that other stuff, that they've almost got worse in some ways. The ones that are still putting out AB amplifiers and obviously the tube point to point stuff, that stuff's always repairable. But I'm the same way. I definitely like the new and I like the vintage. And I have both for everything, new speakers, vintage speakers, new amplifiers, vintage amplifiers. And I think it just depends really on, I just pulled out this, well, you probably can't see it, but those little blue meters up there are an AccuPhase E202. And it's one of my integrated amplifiers that it kind of goes in storage and it goes through rotation. And I just pulled it out because I wanted to hear it. And the controls need cleaned again, even though I just did them a year ago. There's static in them and stuff like that. So, but I'm used to it. I realize that's part of the thing with vintage, and that it just needs constant. It needs constant, care and maintenance. And for some people, I think, they can stomach that and they're okay with it. And then other people are just, it's not for them. I can tell when a customer comes in, and if their level of OCD is higher than mine, vintage might not be the right thing for them. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, we've actually got a customer out there right now trying to decide between vintage and new.
Oh, is that what they're talking about?
Yeah.
Hold on one second. I'm just gonna take Eric out because it's causing an echo. We'll bring him back here in a minute, or as needed. Oh, you just muted. Sansui is called the new Jack White song. Oh wow, that's cool. What's wrong? Everyone hear that? I saw the White Stripes on the Elephant Tour in, what was it, 2004? Hey Eric, I think your computer audio is on. Computer audio. Sorry. Um, what's your opinion on? Oh, wait, I clicked the wrong one. What's your opinion on Planar 2 turntable? We actually just became a Rega dealer, or Riga, however you pronounce it. And that was the first question I asked the rep was, how do you pronounce this? Because it's like techniques or technics. It's the same thing. Everybody's got a definitive way they should say it. And again, from the dealer is however you pronounce it, because it's different depending on what part of the country or what country you live in. So it's both. But I really like the Rega turntables, especially the P6 RS. I wasn't aware of that one, and we got one in as a demo. And that outboard power conditioning power supply is unreal. That kind of changed my mind with belt drives, because I've honestly been I've kind of been stuck on direct drives for a while, because I feel like I tend to pick up on the speed fluctuations more than I do motor vibration. So I've most of my turntables I've been listening to lately are direct drives, because I like the speed consistency. But because that Rega, uh, that P3 RS has that outboard power supply conditioner, it really regulates that speed to where it's almost like a direct drive. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. I was pretty impressed with that. Um, Pioneer SX 770 and Paradigm speakers from the late 80s. I really like the looks of the SX 770. Unfortunately, man, they are just a nightmare to work on. It's too bad, but I love them when they're working and they're sounding good. They're great. But, just noticed the other night listening to my SP. Yeah, I need to check out that new Jack White. I'm really fortunate that I went to that show, because a lot of times shows would come through, and you find something else to do and you don't go. And since they're not touring, and it doesn't look like they're ever going to tour again, I'm glad I was able to see them back then. It was an incredible show. Let's see. Ever seen the old Scott tube amps? We've had a few, um, not a lot. For some reason, the tube gear in Des Moines just really isn't that prevalent. We definitely had more Fisher. I think we've had more Fisher tube gear than any other brand by leaps and bounds. And I don't know why they outsold Scott and Harman Kardon, those other two big tube brands back then. Marantz kind of makes sense because I think they were priced more back in the day, but yeah. Love the Lintons. Can't wait to try a set. Yeah, I'm telling you, the Lintons have been really popular. I mean, we can't keep them in. They just go out the door. We just got the Dovedales in, and those are ridiculous, and they should be. You're talking about the difference of a $1,700 speaker versus a $7,000 speaker. So, I wasn't surprised that they were that much better, but I I really like the 85ths, the Lintons, and the Super Lintons, and setting those Dovedales down next to it. There's no question you're getting a pretty significant sound improvement. And again, you should be, 7 grand. So at least it's really noticeable. It's not like you can deny the sound improvement on those. Yeah, we got somebody in here from West Des Moines. Oh yeah, Steven, I thought you were from Iowa Valley. We used to yeah, I grew up in Waukee, so we weren't that far from you. Did you go to Valley? Oh, let me bring Eric in. I'm sorry. Eric was from Valley.
Yeah, I was there my freshman year. I was class of '88, so I probably saw you around, Steven.
Well, and Tony.
Yeah, Tony and I were in the same grade, which we didn't find out until about a year after knowing him
I didn't have
here.
a lot of friends from Valley, but I had a couple. Yeah, two totally different worlds. Valley. What was the graduating class? You
Oh,
think?
I don't know. It was huge.
Ours was 63. So we really didn't have a lot in common. And we got another Des Moines. Oh, right here. Carlisle. That would be more the Waukee side of things. But what about everybody else? So, is anybody all in vintage? You're not getting into new stuff, or are you okay with being a hybrid?
I've got a mix. I just added the Cambridge EXN 100 streamer, and I love it.
Yeah, I've got the 100, the CXN, but I'm thinking about getting the EXN because the improvement going from the Wiim to the CXN was so significant that I think I might take the plunge and do the EXN. There we go. Preferred recap vintage audio. I do too. I was just talking to Randy of all people about this literally just half hour ago. And we were talking about at what point does vintage audio at what point with a recap or a restoration is it not really a vintage stereo piece? And there's definitely a line there. I don't know where it's at. It's not for me to say where it's at. I think everybody's going to have their own opinion on that, but we have had requests where people literally want every capacitor, resistor, transistor, everything replaced. And I think it's more in a way of making it bulletproof rather than for the sonic improvement of it. But I think there is a point where taking things to the extreme like that, you're going to lose the soul of the piece in a way. And but on the flip side, I also understand the argument of if all the components inside of the piece have drifted so far out of value, does it really sound like it did when it was brand new anyway? you know it's kind of tough. You kind of have to weigh that out for yourself. Which Gashelli do you? Oh, somebody else. Is there only a Wiim? Thanks, Randy. So I could run through Gashelli DAC into vintage. Yeah, the Weims have their place, and at their price point, I don't think you can touch them. If you're looking for a budget streamer, I don't think it gets better than Wiim. But, yeah. We've had the whole shop running on Wiim at one point because Sonos was getting so expensive, and we have, like, 8 zones, so we can have the different stereo systems all running the same thing besides FM radio, and, they were bulletproof, so there's nothing wrong with the Wiim.
Yeah, I think it's a really good way to just test it out without too much of a financial
Well, and also,
commitment.
with the Weem, it's especially if you're gonna have, like, a second room, it's not your dedicated listening room or something like that, or you're not gonna be doing critical listening. I wouldn't be putting, high dollar streamers in a kitchen, but that's just me. I know there's people out there that do that, and we've had customers come in that have turntables in their bathrooms, and I'm not kidding. I saw the picture because I was, I'm just going, that seems ridiculous to me, but you know, if that's what they want, who cares? I'll sell you a turntable for your bathroom. I mean, why wouldn't I? It doesn't make sense. But
With all that moisture, it probably cuts down on static.
yeah, yeah, the way to find the
A
positive.
positive
Yeah,
still seems pretty weird.
it's very weird. But this is coming from a guy that takes a record player camping. So I don't know if you can. I don't know if you could talk too much. Uh, But I get it, because actually we went camping last year, and it was really cool. We both brought a stack of records. We had the little, sound burger.
Hamburger.
Yep, and a couple Bluetooth speakers. Oh, mail guy's here. You know No, no, you're good. I, uh, I haven't put the packages together. Thank you, Brett. That is the best mail guy in the world. I swear to God, that guy is amazing.
He is.
He is, man. The other mail people, they don't bother to check. We've always got packages going out, and Brett's the man. Uh, I like vintage best because everything is new again, thanks to your videos, and I want to thank you. Um, yeah, I vintage bit me too, and I think there's a couple different kinds of people out there, that either they get it or they don't, and there's no right or wrong there at all. Again, for some people, vintage just is not the right choice for them. And what I feel bad for, or who I feel bad for, are some of the people that live out in the middle of nowhere, because unless they know how to service that equipment, just because of where they live, almost means they shouldn't be getting vintage. And I hate to say that, but it's kind of the truth of it. You really need to have somebody, or you need to be willing to work on it yourself if you live out in the middle of nowhere. Otherwise, it's going to cost you a fortune to ship it back and forth every time you need the pots cleaned or something like that. But I think we got a super chat up here, maybe. I don't want to miss it if I did. Do you see any super chats, Eric, or am I just seeing things?
I didn't see one.
Okay. I'm just seeing things on.
I'll keep my eye out.
Yeah. And don't feel obligated to super chat. I don't do these live streams for that. It's just, we had an hour and I was like, it'd be fun to do a live stream. That's it. Uh, I appreciate you just watching the videos and that's enough.
Or buy a t-shirt.
Yeah, that's good too, but don't feel obligated to buy anything.
No.
What we got here? Pioneer 50 owner here. Yeah, those are rare. I've got a lot of people wanting 850s, and I don't know if it's the price point they were at, where everybody either bought 750s or they bought 950s. But I think if I've had 5 850s in the last 9 years, I'd be shocked. And I've definitely had a lot more 750s and 950s. So, excuse me. The 850s are kind of a rarity. But let's see. Kenwood TX 140 is an excellent amplifier. I have one sitting on the form for me. I don't know if I've had one of those. TX, I thought was the receiver portion. I could be wrong. It's not like I know everything, even though some people assume I do. I currently have a name. Sorry, I kind of mumble read these when I put it up there, and you guys can read it. The P3 Rega aluminum. Yeah, I'm telling you, is that the RS that you're talking about, the aluminum? Because that turntable is amazing. It really is. And I like all the Rega products. It's just that one is a standout for me anyway. What do we got? Leave my offsprings when I really enjoy your videos. Was around Thompson Town. Yeah, back in the day, we actually had one of the best hi-fi shops in Des Moines announce their closing like this week, and it's really sad. They were a high-end, you know, more on the high-end dealer. They had Macintosh, B&W, Ocal, and we shared a lot of customers in that. We'd have customers come in and I could tell they were wanting to get something really nice. They were wanting to spend some money, and I would say, we just don't have anything like that. You should go check out Audio Video Logic, and I would send them customers their way. And then they'd have customers that would walk in wanting to buy a turntable, and they didn't have anything maybe for a budget-friendly type of customer, and they'd send them my way. So it was really reciprocal. And so it's really unfortunate that another hi-fi shop, they've been around for 15 years, maybe 20, is closing. But you know, it yeah, it's just sad. And I think it's Audio Video Logic. Hey Wayne, what's happening? Yeah, I got a call from Mike last week saying, we gotta close the doors. And both Eric and I bought stuff from them several times. Anytime I needed something that I didn't have access to, they were the first person I'd call. Hey man, can you get me one of these? And most of the time they could. So I hate to see that. I don't know how I got to your videos, but believe. Oh yeah, well, I'm you like it, I assume. I don't see how you couldn't like an 850. That's probably the sweet spot of that whole series. The 750 and below was vinyl wrap, and then the 850 they started pulling out, the nice wood and the nice big transformer and stuff like that. Audio analysis I've never heard of. Again, especially with new products, I'm not super versed in it. I'm just not. I've been just blinders on in vintage. We just started carrying some new product here recently, so unfortunately, I'm not a good person to ask on that one.
Never heard of it either.
Yeah. 80s Lexman tape deck, hotly set up. Yeah, 1500s. I like those a lot. Then the 881. That's a cool receiver. We got a 1010, the big boy in the house. We actually have a 1010 out on the floor, and we don't see those very often either. But for those of you out there that don't know, the 1010 was the receiver that started the watt wars. That was the first one to break the 100-watt threshold, and started all of the craziness where they got up to 330 watts per channel or whatever they made it up to. So it's a pretty iconic piece. And they're getting, I think those have doubled, if not almost tripled, in the last 2 or 3 years. We priced ours. I don't remember what's on it, but it's another one of those where I was like, wow, I can't believe they're getting that kind of money. But
Looks like he has a second part to his question there.
oh,
Tom
sorry.
did.
You want to put his up, and we'll
Can I
get
do
back
that
to
here?
Outburst Jared.
I can't do it.
What was the name?
It was Tom. It was like 1, 2, 3 up from where you're at.
That was the same one.
Yeah, no, that's it. But he's asking about the 2
Oh,
preamp.
oh, am I going to notice a big difference between the okay, I'm sorry.
I got
Again,
you, Tom.
I don't know. This goes back to that thing. We get people that come in and they say, I've got this, but I want to get this. Is it going to sound better? And I hate to say this. There isn't an answer for that because it's kind of like going up to a stranger and saying, which do you like better, a Wendy's cheeseburger or a McDonald's cheeseburger? It's so subjective. And I would like to think you would hear the difference, or most people would hear the difference between a tube amplifier or a tube preamplifier and a solid state piece, but I just can't. I don't know. I don't know how you hear, It's unfortunate because I think a lot of people want that definitive answer, and it's just something that only you can answer. Um, I wanted to answer this. Is it worth having my 980 recapped or just let it ride? This is one of those hot topics where there are 2 camps. You've got the recappers, and then you've got the don't touch it. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And I understand both sides of this. My thought is, okay, break it down like this. Can you do repairs yourself? That's the big question, because if you can do the repairs yourself, then no, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That it makes perfect sense. Why would you? But if you aren't a technician, and being that most technicians that have been around for a while aren't repairing anymore, or unfortunately they're passing away, the amount of people that can service your vintage piece of gear are getting smaller. So if you have somebody that you trust, um, I think having any bit of work done, even preventative maintenance that you can have done, is probably a good idea, you know? Or I guess if you're the type of person that doesn't mind watching videos, maybe, reading some books, figuring out how to do it yourself, but I wouldn't start on a prized possession either. I would go out and grab a cheap receiver and start tinkering on that, because you don't know how many times people have got online, they go to eBay, they buy a restoration kit, and they end up causing more problems than it had when they started, myself included. Uh, I don't have formal training when it comes to doing any kind of component replacement or troubleshooting. And I have definitely done my fair share of just going to do a simple recap on a power supply, and I've screwed it up. It happens. So again, you got to weigh it out for yourself if you think it's worth it, and if you think there's going to be more technicians in the future than not. We did get a super chat, so thank you very much. Became a member. But we do 2 videos a week for members, and a lot of times it's just a behind the scenes type of thing. It's more for people that just want to support the channel. I don't want to make any claims that there's a bunch of hidden content that you're not getting, um, but I do appreciate it, and I hope that people are getting enjoyment out of it that are members, because it helps. I was thinking about this the other day. The memberships really help more for psyche than for monetary value. It's people that just say, "Hey, I appreciate what you do, and I want to support you. So thank you." And don't feel obligated to be a member or anything like that. Again, we're not doing this for money. We're just hanging out. Um, Great channel. I got my risers. Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those risers have been crazy too. We can't keep them in. We've got a woodworker that lives in Lincoln, yeah, Lincoln, Nebraska, and man, we sell a lot of those things. So I'm glad you got them. I'm glad you like them. You've got a D9, a Pioneer 514 SLD2, which is I love the D2s, especially for their price point back in the day, and the 1200 sounds like a good system. 65 to 80. Oh, I think he was probably answering somebody's question. Sorry, I'm not reading these very well, and Eric's not feeding them to me. Help me feed me.
I can't. I don't
Oh,
have. I think I have to log in, and if I log in, I might.
let's
Um,
let's try it here. Um, yeah, just log back in, and I'll bring you back on. For now, I'm riding solo, guys. So if I'm missing questions and all that kind of stuff, it's because I'm not that good at this. How about Sansui from the late 60s and the 8 ohm speaker suggestion? Would 4 or 6 ohm speakers really damage it? Well, here's the truth to that. You know, I wish Rob was here because he would be able to explain this so much better than I can. The way I understand it, you know, they're they've the ohms or the resistance of the speaker fluctuates. So, you know, most likely an 8 ohm speaker is going to dip down into sixes anyway. Sixes are going to dip down to fours, and fours might dip down to threes. And you could try it. You know, I hate to say that. You know, I don't want to. I'd rather give you a yes, that'll work, or no, it'll work. But if it starts getting hot, or if there's, and most likely because it's late 60s, it probably doesn't have a relay in it, so it's not going to kick out on you. I would try it, but I would be really careful. I would make sure it's not running really hot, and I don't know if it does it say 8 ohm on the back, or does it say 4 to 8 ohm? Do you know off top of your head? And maybe Wayne might be definitely the Discord channel could help explain that more. But you know, we do get that question quite a bit, and you know, because there's such a variance, um, it's hard to say yes or no. The other thing you could do is get a speaker selector switcher, you know, that's protected. That would that helps. But uh, would ELAC debut 3? What do we got? Would ELAC debut 3? 63 be a good match for 2270. Oh god, that's a lot of power. I mean, 70 watts per channel, even if they are, 63 dB is really low. I don't think I've ever even heard of a speaker being that low. Is that right? But I mean, again, you could try it. Unfortunately, if you buy it from a place that has a good return policy, you could see how you like them. That's kind of the only way you can figure this stuff out anymore. Unless you have a buddy that's got a pair you could borrow. They suggest 8 ohms. Yeah, I would just be real careful, because I don't think there's oh, I forgot. I think Randy was gonna hop on. I need to send him a link too. Um, yeah. There's John Paul. What's up, JP? Okay, let me bring you on because I'm gonna get Randy in here. So there you are. I'm gonna dip out, grab Randy real quick.
Hey JP, I hear you're spinning more records now. Got to come over and listen to your system. JP lives down the street from me, and he's got a good collection going, and just picked up Advanced Paris that haven't heard. So let's see. I just I mix. I've got a Macintosh system from the late 70s. It's part of their Slim line, and I've got the uh, Cambridge EXN 100 hooked up to that, and I love that combo. And then I've got some newer clip speakers. Still looking for speakers though. Oh, we got a new member, another new member. And Kevin's trying to get Randy in. What's that?
Turn your screen just
This way?
Yep. There you go. Thank you.
You guys have any questions about the production of these videos? I could answer those too.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah, I was killing it there.
You're the man, Eric. What else do we got? And we got another super chat. Is that right? Oh, somebody became a member. Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate that. We got Bryson Gear. You know, we haven't had hardly any Bryson Gear, and I think it just comes down to Des Moines not being a a hi-fi town. It's unfortunate too because they're still in business and their warranty is almost unparalleled. So I definitely would not discourage anybody from buying Bryson Gear. Colorado Springs, with the economy in the future, the economy seems like vintage gear purchasing are slowing down. Do you think vintage gear will stop dropping and will start dropping in price? I personally don't think so. I think there's always that thing of vintage gear is always getting destroyed. I mean, we get stuff shipped in here all the time, and not vintage equipment, but I've had my fair share of vintage pieces showing up in pieces, literally. And with the amount of transactions happening on eBay and Reverb and Facebook Marketplace, I think the numbers are dwindling and they're not making more. So I don't think the price is going to go down for that reason. And then, it does seem like with a lot of new product going up in price, um, I don't think vintage is going to have those same issues because it doesn't have the reasons why the other stuff is going up the way it is. So if anything, I think vintage might become more affordable for people. If you look at the prices that are getting increased for new gear, that that's totally just speculation, but you know, that's. And did you see any
I didn't see that.
vintage gear page? No, I haven't seen that, but and I think YouTube's gotten a lot better about it. There for a while, we'd get people messaging us saying, "Hey, you sent me a message wanting us to use this app in order for us to chat," and it was all scamming. And it seems like YouTube's really cracked down on it. It took them way too long to do that. It doesn't seem like it'd be that big of a deal, but it does sound like maybe that's what you're seeing on Facebook. Anybody can take our little logo and um, make a variant of Skylabs and try and fish people out of their money. It's really sad, but it definitely happens. And this is probably the right answer. Don't use 4-6 ohms unless you can on the back, even if speakers are 4. That's probably the correct answer. I'm a little bit more, I guess, risky when it comes to trying stuff, but you got to go into it knowing that you might hurt something if you try running speakers that are too low of ohm for an amplifier. It's part of it. Is there a new speaker in the market under $1,000 that can match with my Marantz 2240? Sure, tons. Absolutely. 40 watts per channel is especially 40 vintage watts where they were underrating everything. They've got big power supplies so they can handle more current. I don't think there's much. I don't know. And again, it also depends on what kind of SPLs are you trying to hit. Because if you're only wanting to get good, 80 decibels of clean sound, I don't think there's many speakers the 40 watt per channel receiver won't do. What we got? You ever seen? No. And I know Clips just came out with a new Sci-Fi Audio did a video on it. I haven't watched it yet, but I know they've done a refresh on the Cornwalls and the La Scalas. So I'm kind of interested to see those or hear them. Do you know if I think all of them underrated to a certain degree. I think most people that have done measurements on good working vintage pieces find that, you know, they were very conservative with their watt ratings. And then I think in the 80s, the way I understand it, you know, in the 70s it was what was it, 1 watt per meter, 1 kilohertz. No, they were doing the full spectrum, so 20 to 20 kilohertz is what they were using to rate the watts on. And then in the 80s, they kind of deviated from that, and people started using 1 kilohertz to measure the output of their amplifiers. And it's a lot easier to drive 1 kilohertz than it is 20 to 20. And I think it kind of skewed the numbers a little bit. And if I'm wrong, let me know, but that's the way JP, I think the 1 watt at 1 meter is for efficiency.
Mhm.
And that's what I started saying. And I was like, no, wait, he's not asking about efficiency. He's asking about amplifier ratings. Those ratings are RMS, not peak. Yeah. What we got? Have you had a Denon 50? I haven't. The Denon stuff, and the way I understand it, they were more prevalent outside of the United States in the 70s. We've had one 70s Denon amplifier, and it was really nice. And maybe that's what this is. I'm not familiar with the POA 1500. Let me look real quick. Yeah, this would be 80s, I believe. And it's just nothing we worked on, so we just never had. I don't have any experience with it. The 70s one that we did have, it was a overseas model only. That thing was made well. It was really nice. Thoughts on CD resurgence? Other streamers are stating we're actually doing a video. The video for Sunday will be on CDs, and because the demand for them has really picked up quite a bit here at the shop, even CD players. It's definitely noticeable. And I do think this one's different than the cassette revival, you know, that really tried to grow legs a few years ago. I do think there's a little bit more validity to the CD resurgence. And yeah, watch that video on Sunday. Hopefully, yeah, I think it's an interesting topic because it's definitely happening. And I've still got all my CDs. So they've been in storage, you know, in my basement for, I don't know, geez, 20 years, 20 plus years. But I am, you know, with some of the new, with light being brought to some of the things that the labels are doing, I think I might be jumping on the CD bandwagon again. I know Eric just started picking up CDs again too. And
Yeah, and I know when I go thrifting, I've started to look at CDs now because you got, a way better selection there rather than all the Lawrence Welk we get around here. So yeah, I love CDs. I've been ripping my CDs and putting them on a memory stick and putting them in the back of my streamer, and I'll do a lot of A/B testing on a record that I loved, back in the day, and some of these remasters, or even remixes, but mostly the remasters. Sometimes they just don't sound like I remember them. So I'll pull out the old CD and throw that in, and I'm back in business.
Oh crap! I didn't hit send for Randy. Ah, Randy, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, man. I just sent you the link. Can't do too many things at once. Yeah, what's everybody's opinion on CDs? You are you back in? Are you coming back in? Do you ever leave? And recommended CD players. Right now we are selling the Cambridge one, and I know that doesn't have anything to do with what I would recommend. I'm getting the advanced Paris one in, and honestly, right now I don't have a recommendation for you because I haven't really experienced them. Lately, the new ones. I think the last CD player I bought was 20 years ago. I've got a really nice Sony in the back that I break out every once in a while, but I'm gonna start checking them out. The Cambridge one and the advanced Paris one. I'm gonna start looking at those, and maybe I'll get a better answer. But here's definitely somebody that would know more about CD players. Have you been reviewing CD players? Has that been anything for you?
What's happening, brother?
And what's up, man? Thank you for coming on. I'm sorry, I was just like, I thought I hit send on the email to send you the link, and I didn't. I failed. But have you been checking out CDs? Are you getting back in? Oh, I think. Well, what's wrong with your mic? Hello.
Anything?
There you are. Cool, man.
Sorry, I'm not very good at YouTube.
Yeah.
Like if they want a budget one, SMSL has this cool little kind of one that you have to buy your own power supply for it because it works
Oh.
off 5 volts, but you need like a 2.2 amp 5-volt power supply, which isn't very common.
I'm looking it up now.
It's like $105. It's got a Cirrus Logic DAC chip inside, which is actually pretty good, and it's literally like a amplifier on a chip. So it's not like a DAC chip and then there's analog outputs. So, and it's pretty good sounding for the money. It's a little bit harsh, but it's got a digital output. So if you want to hook it up to integrated or your own DAC, it'll calm it down a bit. But for $105, you can't really go wrong.
And it's got is it visible? Is the disc visible when it's spinning?
No,
I'm just looking
no.
at.
So
Okay.
that's another one. So SMSL has another one that's more expensive, and there's like a platter. Looks like the pot top.
Okay.
you would take off. It is kind of cool. I actually gave one of those to my nephew. I can't remember how much they are. Cambridge Audio makes one for I think $300. I think they may make a transport too. Audiolab makes one, but I think it might only be a transport. I think that's about 500. Emotiva makes a real big beefy one that you can actually use as a DAC too. So it takes a coax or an optical input. It doesn't play gaplessly though. And I think Denon or Marantz, I think, still has one kicking around. But
we've been selling quite a few of the Cambridge ones, but I just talked to the we're going to get a demo unit for the advanced Paris, one with the tubes in it.
Ooh.
Have you messed with those yet?
No, I imagine it's going to be expensive.
No, well, it was 1,100.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's relative with
No, I get it.
Yeah, because
I totally get it.
Rega's got one that's really cool too. We just picked up Rega as a dealer, and that CD player looks amazing. I don't remember what the price point was on that, but that's one of the things I need to figure out. Is kind of what I was just saying. I really left the CD world once streaming came out, because of the the ease of it.
Yeah.
It's so easy. But there's a couple things we're going to talk about in our video on Sunday of reasons why I might be going back to CDs. And I got a feeling, I'm going to be asking you and Ed a ton of questions because, I with all the outboard DACs and the transports and stuff like that, it's just all new to me. And I kind of want I kind of want to figure out, what's right for me type of thing.
Yeah, as you
So,
should.
yeah.
If somebody wants to get into CDs for next to nothing, you go pick up this old, they still sell it. It's a Sony DVD player, but you got to get the one that has digital coaxial output. I think they're about $30. I got mine open box at Best Buy for like 12.
Mm.
And then you hook that into, if you have a DAC or if you have an integrated amplifier with a DAC in it, you coax out digitally because it sounds terrible on its own, but it does play CDs, and
Hmm.
you can get you can have it up and running for $30. I would recommend getting a DAC though if you don't have a DAC, but you can get
Well,
an SMSL SU1 for like $70 right now on sale.
I've got right now, I've got the CXN 100, the Cambridge,
Mm-hmm.
and I was thinking about going up to the EXN 100 because that's what Eric's got. And
It's
I know,
better.
that's what Eric said. And I noticed such a huge difference going from my Wiim to the EXN 100. So, or the
Yeah.
CXN 100. So that's what I was thinking. And I thought,
So
then I could
yeah.
just get a transport and use the DAC in that was kind of my plan.
Well, the clock in the Wiim isn't great, and you can really tell that the CXN 100 cleans it up quite a bit as far as instrument separation. But the EXN, and I talked to them in London about the EXN 100, and they were kind of telling me what they did to it to improve it. But it's very good, and it's not. I mean, if you're looking at the CXN, it's not a huge leap to the EXN. I mean, it's still more expensive, but it's not like out of the ballpark expensive compared to the CXN.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that, I've noticed too. Selling this stuff, I always think, because when I saw the CXM 100 and then they brought out the EXM 100, I was going, man, is there enough here to justify,
There
that
is.
price point?
Yeah.
And well, even if there isn't, to other people out there, there obviously is because they buy them.
Well, I probably wouldn't have put a huge amount of stock in it, although I did compare them and I did hear a difference until I talked to them in their facility in London. And I asked the question, I'm like, okay, what's the difference here? Like, what did you guys do differently? And they took me through it, and it's a
Yeah.
lot more engineering, a lot better parts. I think it's either a better power supply or the power supply is better segregated from the rest of the circuitry. So they did put some work into it, and I can absolutely tell a difference.
Well, it's usually not that I dispute that the work's not in there. I just, the diminishing return starts kicking in so early with this stuff. But
Mhm.
something you just said, and I can't agree more. And I wish other people, even myself 3 or 4 years ago, had the ability to talk to some of these reps and then even sometimes the designers because again we just picked up Rega and we just had our meeting with the rep and when they start really explaining the differences and what went into making that next level up you start going okay the price difference makes sense
Yeah.
now when you're just flipping through a music direct catalog or you're seeing prices online it's hard not to sit there and go is there really that much of a difference
No,
or
for sure.
yeah
And these brands do a terrible job of communicating because I'm sitting there and I'm talking to the guys from Cambridge, and they're passionate, and they're animated about the differences, the work that they put into it. And my comment is always, why aren't you telling people this? Like, why aren't you conveying this message? Because it's doing them a disservice by not communicating the work and the care and the passion that goes into it. I can't say that about every company, but with Cambridge, I know that they put work into it. And with some of these other companies, I know they put work into it, but for whatever reason, they're either bad at communicating it to the customer or they don't know how to communicate it to the customer, which is, I think, where we come in. I mean, it used to be the magazines, and I guess in a certain respect, it still could be the magazines. But people need to understand why there's a price difference and what amount of importance they put on that is fundamentally up to them as a customer.
Well, and I will say this, after selling this stuff for the last couple of years, I think there are two different people though too. The consumer side, there are the people that really want to know that they're getting more bang for their buck, or that extra money they're spending is going to get them something in return. And then there's the other side that just want the best.
Mm-hmm.
And then they don't really care. They don't even know that there's a different DAC in one, or that there's a different power supply. They don't even want to know.
Yeah.
And that's a side of things that I never saw, until I started selling it. Because to me, and maybe this is just because I've never had a lot of extra money,
Right.
to where I could just go out and buy, the best, or even close to the best.
Yeah.
So I always go into everything, kind of speculative, or and that's not the right word, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where I'm thinking
Skeptical.
Thank you. Yeah, that's it.
It
Yeah.
was an S word.
Yeah, it was.
I had to think about it for like 30 seconds though before I came up with it.
Oh yeah, well, at least we're both punchy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just did get a super chat, so I do want to acknowledge that. What are your thoughts on blind listening tests? Would you still prefer vintage even if you chose new and blind tests? I will tell you, okay, this is one of my brainiac ideas when I started this channel a while ago, and I still think it's a good idea. It's just really hard to pull off. And that,
Yeah.
I even made a box, a little switcher
Mm-hmm.
that we sat people down. I didn't know them, with headphones on. I had 2 phono preamps and a switcher, and they were switching back and forth between the phono preamps, and they didn't know what they were switching
Right.
back and forth between.
Yeah.
And the results were staggering, that nobody could hear the difference. And but it became a really boring study, because according to that, nobody could hear the difference. But here's the thing, the room environment was bad.
Mm-hmm.
They could have been uncomfortable in the chair. They could have been uncomfortable in the environment. They could have, for so many different reasons, it was just, the test didn't seem valid,
Mm-hmm.
and so,
Well, were the output level? Well, I guess the output levels were the same if they couldn't hear a difference.
yeah.
So I think also were they like seasoned audiophiles?
Well, they were everybody. I mean, we had people, I think we asked everybody that walked in the door. We gave them 5% off their purchase if they would sit down and take this test, and it was all walks of life. It really was. It was everything you could imagine, from 15 to 50, 60 years old, and men and women. And, we had a couple of people that said they could, but it was very small amount that said they could hear the difference. And if I remember right, we did a couple of these, but one of them was like, a pile $20 phono preamp, and the other one was like a, $500 preamp. So,
well, I'll tell you this, and when you do A/B switching very quickly, and I mean, I've probably done it more than anybody out there within the last 4 years, because I A/B stuff all the time. The biggest differences I have heard in products sometimes are when I'm passively listening. I'm not concentrating on something. I'll be doing something in the office and I'll have music on in the background. I'm like, I haven't heard that before. So it's almost kind of like getting into the subconscious, where you're not like really leaning in and trying to like concentrate on symbols or whatever else it is, that it becomes more apparent. And sometimes it takes some time as well. And a quick A/B switch isn't always the best way to really judge a product. Hey, dude, I gotta go, unfortunately.
oh yeah, no, thanks for
Right.
stopping, man.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yay.
Randy. Hey,
right.
go grab
Thanks.
Randy's shirt. That shirt is
yeah.
killer. He's got those for sale. You need to go get one.
Octopus. All right, I
Yeah,
gotta go.
awesome,
Bye, guys.
man. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of A-Bing here too. We've got we've got every vintage receiver and a lot of vintage speakers up on that wall. And I will say this too. It's it's really hard to A/B speakers, even though I think they have the most significant difference, because I do feel like, you really need to let your ears acclimate to that different set of speakers. I had this conversation with somebody else not too long ago, and we were talking about AR speakers and a bright set of speakers, and I don't remember which one it was. But if you are going to hot swap between, something that's really top heavy or it's got a lot of treble, and you go to a neutral laid back speaker, you're probably not going to like that laid back speaker. At least I don't. It sounds muffled to me. But if I come in the next day, you know, cold, and I just listen to that laid back speaker, I I, it, I could think it's the greatest speaker I've ever heard. So I think there might be a little bit more validity with being amplifiers, but this whole thing is, so much of it is in your head. You know, I I hate that part about it, because I can talk myself either way on a lot of things, and there's always that, especially with buying a new piece, I always want to give myself validation that I made the right choice. So I will favor it even though it's not just. And then when I buy the new piece after that, even years later, I do the same thing and I think that last thing I had wasn't as good. And I think the psychology with stereo equipment, because specs, and you can't get a definitive readout that says this sounds better than this sounds better than this. It's kind of the mood you're in, and I don't know, that's the way it is to me anyway. Have you ever felt that, Eric? Have you ever tried a
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, because you always want to justify the money that you put into something, and yeah, I think we all do that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We get a lot of people that walk in, which one's better, and there is no better. That's the problem. There is no better. It, better to who? You know.
Yeah, and like you said, everyone's ears are different. Everyone has different sensitivities to different frequencies. So
Well, that was that one thing that Randy not too long ago. He went to another trade show. I wish he could explain this better, but I thought it was really cool, and I'm hoping it's going to be at Expona, where they've got this device that sits inside of your ear, and it's not testing what you can hear. Well, it's not like a hearing test. It actually measures the shape of your ear to let you know where you've got, peaks and valleys in what you're able to hear or how you're hearing it, which I think is really pretty. I want to try it. That's all I want.
sounds complicated. Sounds like ear correction.
Well, no, it's not for that, but it does maybe back up what you think you hear. As in,
Gotcha.
Randy was saying that he doesn't like neutral speakers, and when he did this test, it showed that he had a little bit of he has a dip in the treble and a dip in the bass and a little bump in the mid range, and that kind of made sense that he doesn't like neutral speakers, because they're going to be, mid heavy or mid forward. So I just thought it was interesting. I'm hoping to be able to try it. Yes. What we got? CD may replace vinyl, and then streaming may replace CDs. It's a possibility.
Hmm.
Yeah, it might just go full circle. It does seem like it is. 8 tracks? Oh man, I hate 8 tracks. I really do. I didn't. I've had several cars that had 8-track players in them. Actually, a '77 Ford LTD. This thing was a land yacht. It was huge. And that was a great part of it. But man, 8 tracks. Once you have to sit there and wait for that program to cycle through.
Or you get a big cha-chunk in the middle of a song, especially like Pink Floyd.
Oh yeah, Yeah, I had a Leonard Skinner that actually cut off Freebird and put it into 2 sections. So I'm never going back to 8 tracks. Yeah, it's a boat. It was. That thing was. It was crazy big. No shocks. So if you hit a bump, your head was going into the roof. Is reel to reel is good? Yes, reel to reel is, in my opinion, is the greatest format ever. Unfortunately, it's also the most expensive and the least portable.
And clumsy.
Yeah, it's
Just
clunky. Yeah, I agree with that. But I love a good reel to reel.
when we when you got that White Stripes from Analog Productions, I was blown away. And we did a video on that, so you can
Yeah,
that about a year ago.
I know Chad's talked about making 7.5, 4-track, because there's so many of those vintage reels out there, and that's the problem with new reels, or the probability of bringing it back. You just can't do it because those decks are so. I mean, I think the new decks are 15 to 20,000. And that's kind of the cheap ones. So, and the tape is really expensive to make. It's really niche. You need to be able to move a lot of units in order to make them at a price that people can afford. And it's unfortunate, but it's just the way it is.
Yeah, you can still buy tape.
Yeah, place in France. I've actually got, well, it's just one of them. I don't know. There might be more, but I've got a few brand new reels, and that is one thing that's a lot of fun, is to grab title or get some good FLAC files
Yeah.
and record them to reel, because yeah, tape saturation is real, and love it. Sounds good. What else we got? Oh yeah, yep. It's kind of expensive too. Yep, especially if you're getting the metal hubs. It's too bad. If you can even pick up, the factory recorded reels from back in the day, and they're outrageous price. I think you 2 to 250 for a decent one. Are you being snarky? Wait, recording an original onto tape makes sound better. Well, again, it's definitely subjective, but I think it does. Yeah, it depends on what it is too. But I don't think a lot of people would disagree with me that recording to really fast reels is where it's at. But I could be wrong. But I can't be, because it's just my opinion. The cassette play removes a little bit of magnetic cone. Yeah, and it definitely, yeah, it's not a good medium for, consistent listening. It's a piece of tape going across magnetic heads, and it's a physical, just like vinyl records. Yeah. I loved cassettes back in the day because, the choices then were records and 8 tracks, and I wanted to be able to listen to music on the school bus and mowing the lawn and all that kind of stuff. And I do think with the right cassette deck and, the right cassette, they can sound incredible too. The problem is I don't know, keeping a cassette deck up to par is really tough these days, and they're just not making any new ones that are really that good, I don't think. But
I think the Walkman is the thing that started my journey into the hearing loss, because I would, you're mowing the lawn, you didn't have noise canceling back in the
uh,
80s, and you just crank it just so you could hear it, and
for real,
you're 16 and you're
the,
like,
the little metal band with the muffs that came with the cassette,
yep.
yeah. I think they are kind of a novelty now. The cassettes are. I still love my reel to reel too, but and I'm not bad. There's a lot of people out there that love cassette tapes, and for whatever reason, if you do,
Yeah.
yeah,
I've got a reel to reel just sitting in my house. I haven't used it in a couple of years, but I just think it looks cool.
Are you ever going to cover any Class D? I'm a big fan of Class D. Seems like it's. I don't, I don't have a lot of Class D. We're so focused on vintage and Class AB. It's not that. I mean, it's not that I don't know anything about them. It's just there's so many other people that are so into it that would definitely know more about it. It just doesn't really make sense for me to cover it all that much. I mean, I know they've made huge advancements with it, and it's like cassettes. It's like somebody just mentioned too. Unfortunately for cassettes, I think by the time cassettes were done, they really had it down.
Hmm.
Um, and unfortunately, CDs came in and just put an end to it. But yeah, we should probably get going here. Maybe one or two more questions. I understand it just seems like all the rage. Glad you're not. Oh, was that in reply to the Class D, the Dan?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh. Traditionally, Class D was sub amps. Yeah, I mean, for the size and their ability to do huge amounts of watts with really no heat issues or anything like that. Class D is incredible. And I think, like everything else, as technology evolves, it's just going to keep getting better and better and better. So, um, well, yeah, you got to run too, JP. We got to go too. Thanks for tuning in for sure. Thank you to Randy if he's still out there. Check out the video on Sunday. Definitely appreciate it. We'll get together and do some more of these. It doesn't seem like Eric and I get much time that makes these easy, but today we were lucky. So yeah, hopefully you guys had a good time, and
Yeah, thanks for jumping on.
thanks for watching. Definitely appreciate it. Go listen to some music. Later.